tick, tick, tick on the wall. Maybe you could have it all. Get down on your knees and pray. Maybe she will let you stay. Good enough if you play the game. Here comes the music, don't resist. Gotta keep on moving. Here comes the music, just give in. Gotta keep on moving.
All right, welcome everybody to A Court of Bros and Broses, Book 2, Earth. This is Zerav. We're back after a little bit of a break, we are fresh off the tail of Book 1, heading into Book 2. I am joined by my co-hosts, Patrick and Joe. Introduce yourselves while I pacify my screaming cat.
Hello, I am Patrick. I am here.
I am Joe, and I am also physically here, mentally suffering due to lack of sleep and the time jump forward.
Oh, dude, lack of sleep. My son's been going through this a fun new sleep regression right now. Where 2 nights ago he was up from 1:30 a.m. till 5 a.m. And we could not get him down. We were tag teaming it back and forth, and he did that a couple times this last week. It's been fun. Yeah. So what I was thinking, we will probably have some potential new listeners, right? We're like potentially like, all right, cool. This is a good jumping in point for new listeners.
Yeah, I could say
who have not been on the show, have not listened to any of the podcasts before. And I'd even argue that this is a great place to start. No need to listen to the old stuff. Just listen to this stuff right now. But are those people going to wonder and miss out on all kinds of wonderful A Court of Bros and Broses lore?
Yeah. Well, what's it say on the lore wiki for this podcast? Like, what are some of the articles we've got?
Well, we have the whole Nirav is a Shadow the Hedgehog furry thing that was established in the earlier episodes. That's canon.
Oh, by the way, he also pre-ordered a game. I don't know what game it was. He recently pre-ordered a game recently. Yeah. He pre-ordered it just to get Sonic the Hedgehog skins, so he's not helping.
Why would you not do that? Okay, so 2 Point Museum, which is that like museum management game from Sega. If you pre-order it, you get like skins to like make all the employees in your museum look like Sonic, like people cosplaying Sonic and Shadow. It doesn't even look like them. It's like bad costumes, and I thought it was very funny. So that I needed that.
So you're making your museum into a Sonic furry convention.
Well, only the employees. The people attending, the visitors to the museum are still regular people. But you can also buy Sonic plushies in the gift shop now.
Okay, it's good.
I think that's fair. Whatever. I mean, I've said my piece. But anyway, yeah, we But if you are,
do we have a
what?
Do we have an IMDb?
Do we have an IMDb page?
What do you mean? Do we on this podcast?
Game Busters has an IMDb.
I super did not make that. Are you fucking serious?
No, Game Busters has an IMDb, and our first episode of A Court of Bros and Broses is on here. Apparently, we were released in the UK.
Wait, hold on. Is this a bit?
No. I'll show you. We're on video as we record.
Yeah, sorry.
Like, this is real.
New show.
It's backwards, but like...
Is it something...
Wait, what the fuck?
Okay, this Game Busters podcast series... And hold on, though, because it says podcast series, but, like, that's not the logo that I had. Was there another podcast called this? And why is it on IMDb? There's no information about it, so I can't even tell if it's my own podcast.
There's no ratings. There's no information.
Oh, my God. No, it is. Like, I go to the episode list. You can see, like, some of the early episodes and stuff.
New shows, A Court of Bros and Broses, episode 1.
Wow.
That's something.
I wonder if it like
this has got to be auto-populated by
by Amazon or something, because I think Amazon owns IMDb, so I think it's if you put stuff on like Amazon Music or something, it might auto-populate. That's my best guess. Like,
I'm gonna rate this shit 10 stars.
10 stars. Can you write can you give it 10 stars and say it's not woke enough?
Oh my gosh. All right. So everyone, if you're just joining us with the podcast, make sure you subscribe to the podcast and then rate us on Apple Podcasts, but also IMDb.
Also rate us on IMDb. And make sure to leave a review. But yeah, for real though, like I could assume this is a good jumping on point for some people, because I know a lot of folks say the second book is kind of where things get a little more interesting. So if you are new here, welcome. Yeah, jump in. I think we should go ahead and jump into it though. We have we're in the prologue right now, which I think is just her remembering what happened in the last book. So I guess we could
flashback sequence.
Yeah, flashback. So
it's a flashback sequence in like the form of a nightmare, right?
Yeah, right. It's essentially just like kind of to refresh you on like, oh yeah, that just happened like right before this. So yeah, we jump in on chapter 1. And
it's been 3 weeks since the events of the finale.
Oh, I thought it was. Wait, hold on. I thought it was 3 months.
No, 3 months.
Okay.
3 months. You're right. 3 months.
Okay, cool. Let's see. So yeah. Anyway, Feyre's like having this nightmare about what happened. Just as a reminder, if you forgot, she had to kill 2 people in cold blood in order to get herself and Tamlin released from under Amarantha's like custody and spell and all that stuff. So she's, obviously feeling some guilt about that. She's
having like extreme PTSD about this. Like waking up like in sweaty nightmare dreams, stumbling her way to the bathroom and just vomiting profusely.
Yeah. I definitely can't blame her for that, having to kill, like, especially having to kill somebody in cold blood who's begging for you not to do it and you don't want to do it, and somebody like basically has a gun to your head and says like you have to kill this person. It's like,
near speaking from personal experience.
I've done it only twice, maybe 3 times, but like every time I didn't like it.
Yep. How long did it take for the nightmares to go away?
Well, see, the secret to that is that I just don't sleep. So I've been.
That is actually canon. Yes.
Yeah. But no, like understandable PTSD, I guess is what I'm saying. So yeah, no shade on her for that. And
but
so
she's not talking to Tamlin about it at all, right? She wakes up
okay. Thank you for saying that, because I was gonna kind of talk about the same thing. As far as I can tell from these first chapters we've read, like I don't think she is like being honest with Tamlin about how much the Under the Mountain stuff has like affected her at all, or even like brought it up.
Absolutely fucked up emotionally, mentally, everything like that. And then Tamlin's like, "How you doing?" She's like, "All good."
Well, also Tamlin is having the same nightmares and difficulties, and is not like neither of them is communicating with the other that they are horribly fucked up and experiencing trauma from the events of the first book.
Yeah, and as someone who's been in a relationship for 16 years, I can say the key to a successful relationship is not communicating.
To never share anything. I know I'm skipping ahead a little bit here, but like as like she's walking down the aisle and everything, I'm like, this is not a person who wants to get married. Like everything going through her head, like this isn't cold feet,
We're jumping
like,
way ahead.
But we'll get to that.
These first 4 chapters are kind of establishing like, because the book ends, so the previous book ends, and it's like, okay, happily ever after. Like it's very much painted as everyone's free. Feyre's living with Tamlin. She got what she wanted. Everyone's going back to the Spring Court, and it's like, dang, she got the life she wanted. She's happy and in love, and everything's great. And this book opens, and she's like, it's like, psych. It sucks, actually.
I will say, like, so okay, there's the other significant thing at the beginning, which is that like, Feyre, like, says like, okay, so I was supposed to spend a week every month with Rhysand, after the events under the mountain, like I promised, but like it's been 3 months and he hasn't come calling, basically. So, like, I've just been, like, chilling here, and I'm like, why, like, she's like, why hasn't he showed up? But, like, maybe he's planning something or something like that. I don't know. So, I did think that was interesting, because I was surprised that he wouldn't have shown up the first time and been like, all right, time to go.
Yep.
Yeah, what was interesting is also, I did not do the audio drama. I did the Jennifer version. And
Jennifer's version?
Pronounces... Jennifer's song, and
I love that
she
cover.
Pronounces Rhysand differently this time.
Wait,
but also the audio drama pronounces it recently too. They say Rhys-and in the audio drama. It's like super. Oh, the Jennifer accent, does the same.
Yeah, the accent is on the and. It's not Rhysand. It's Rhysand.
Yeah,
I have a meeting.
I wonder if like Sarah J. Maas had like this like directive, like a memo went out, like this is how you say it.
This is how you say it, and like, gosh, all right. Man, I don't...
They also say Naga differently. They say Naga instead of Naga.
That's
no, they don't.
Crazy.
Jennifer does at least. It's
that
which
they
is
don't change it in this book.
objectively-
I don't think it's still Naga in this book, right? And for the audio drama, right?
No, he's saying it's not like. Oh man. Okay. Anyway, see that's weird because a Naga is like we talked about real mythological creature. Like that's what it's called. So it's kind of insane that they would change the pronunciation of it.
Maybe they changed the pronunciation specifically to get around anyone questioning if there was any relation to the Naga. No, this is the Naga, not the Naga.
Yeah. I mean,
different.
look, all I'm saying is that, like, this is the same thing as if she had introduced centaurs in the last book, and this time they were called centaurs. But they were the same thing.
Oh, wait. Oh, my God. What if they actually do pronounce it Voyage?
Oh, wow.
What if we were right?
I will trade
Right.
the pronunciation of Naga for Voyage. I will do that.
Oh,
I honestly
can't
don't
wait.
know what it was pronounced correctly as.
I don't know.
Voyage was right.
Voyage was correct,
right.
yeah.
You don't have to- Yep.
All
Sorry,
right.
I took us off track, but I had to. I was like, wait, resand? That's
Yeah, it was a little bit
no,
weird. I
that's-
think recent kind of flows off the tongue better, so.
So do I. Yeah. Just
no,
because
that's how you actually
Recent.
pronounce. That's the name. Like it's a real name. That's how you pronounce the name.
Recent's a real
Reese.
name.
Yeah,
Mm.
pretty sure.
Well,
Reese
As-
is a real
yeah,
name.
Reese is
Spelled that
definitely a
way,
real
Reese
name.
is a real name.
yeah. But,
Yeah.
Okay, actually, I have a point to make about that, and we haven't talked about a new character yet, Ianthe, who when I was talking with Lindsay at lunch, I discovered how her name was spelled, which is Ianthe, which is incredible.
I probably would have honestly guessed that if I had
Ian-
to. If you had asked me right now to try and spell it, I probably would have guessed that.
Yeah, so it's like Ian the, and then I was like, well,
Yep.
then it's like Reese and Ian the. So there's a pattern here I'm starting to pick up for these names.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, Tamlin is like, oh yeah, I'm having nightmares too, and like, I don't really want to talk about it. The key to a good marriage is not communicating about our feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And so she says, that sounds good to me. And I think he went so far as to like turn into his like wolf form and like storm out instead of having to talk about his feelings. Men will literally turn into a wolf instead of going to therapy, etc. Okay, so there's this whole thing that comes up about how Feyre's like not allowed to leave the manor, basically. Like she can't even go explore the rest of the spring court, like go to town on
Which
her
is
own.
it's such a wild thing.
I think it's
after the
insane.
events of the
Yeah.
It's insane. After the events of the finale of the book, like in the first book, if he was like, no, you can't really leave because of X, Y, and Z, I'm like, all right, whatever. He doesn't really know this girl. I get it. Whatever. I get why he's trying to keep her captive. But like in this book, after the events of the finale of the first book, where she kills the Dune Worm,
Mm-hmm.
and like she proves herself pretty significantly, and like goes through a lot, and how he's not like, now you gotta stay in the castle. Now you're more a prisoner than you were before.
No, so that is explained though. What also like, and to your point, she is also now a high fae and has superpowers now. And she's like, you talk about how she's like crushes every dinner fork she ever picks up now because she has super strength and is not used to it yet. And it's I was glad they included that because that is an adjustment you would be making for a long time of going from human strength to being a fairy. But they jumping ahead to what Lucian says, he did hear her neck snap, and he is traumatized by hearing the love of his life's neck physically snap and then die in front of him. So it does at least, and even she comes to the understanding of, oh, okay, I don't like this, and I'm still going to fight this, but I totally get why that is really fucked up and traumatizing for a person to have to go through. So it is at least explained that it's not a controlling male behavior, but rather a two people both dealing with significant PTSD.
Yeah. It could still be both. It could still be controlling male behavior, even if it has a reason behind it. Like he is explaining his reasoning for it. And the reasoning, seems legit, but it's still, at the end of the day, it's still control.
The reasoning is not like malicious in nature, and I think if they just actually sat down and talked about it, like it would be different. You know what I mean?
No, we've established they do not.
Sorry,
they don't converse with each other at all. Okay. They don't talk to each other.
Yeah, they just show up at night and fuck, and then have nightmares. They never speak.
What a wild relationship.
I don't like it. Okay.
And it was not only the to what Joe said, like the PTSD of like seeing his love of his life die, but he also said the reasoning was like because she's now being viewed as like the savior of the whole land or whatever. So like it's not only wanting anything bad to happen to her, but also like, oh, you have to put on a good front. You have to be, your role is not not this like worker or hunter or whatever. Your role is to be the savior. Your role is to be someone they can look up to and idolize. So it's like he's very firmly putting Feyre like, this is your role now. I don't want you to get hurt, but also like it's not your job to help other people. It's like,
yeah, okay, like this is like, all I'm saying is that like it should be up to Feyre whether she is ready to like leave the area, leave like safety, and like go out into the world a little bit more. I guess that's all I would say.
100%. I'm just saying that is the justification Tamlin gives. I'm not saying it's good reasoning.
Yeah.
But that is the explanation he gives for it. And Feyre seems to, like Joe said, Feyre understands. She doesn't like it.
Yeah, and so
I do have thoughts on that as well too, but I don't want to jump ahead. We're kind of out of order a little bit. I don't want to jump ahead to chapter 3 or 4 when she has the conversation with Lucian, which I think adds context to a lot of this with the politics that she is now engaged in.
Yeah.
But yeah, she is now also in. Speaking of engagement, she is now engaged to Tamlin. That has happened officially.
My favorite one thing we sip about Tamlin not letting her leave. Looking at this book notes, I forgot this. I love that Tamlin's like, just stay at home. You can paint. And she's like, all right.
Yeah,
but
so
she doesn't like painting anymore.
Right. Okay. So yeah, exactly. That was exactly what I was going to say. Like, she is unable to find joy doing the things that used to bring her joy. She's certainly depressed, and like, I think Tamlin's like, oh, just have you tried not being depressed? She's like, I'll give it a shot.
Have you tried painting harder? Have you tried painting harder?
So yeah, she is disappointed in like a lot of the life that like basically she's like built here, or rather that Tamlin's kind of built here, and like she's doing a lot of like ladylike things, like having like fun dresses and like all that kind of stuff. Like there's like a lot of jewelry involved, and she's like, yeah, this is like nice, but it's not like really like, these aren't the things that like bring me happiness anyway. And also like I've got a lot of other shit going on in my head. So yeah, like, I mean, obviously this is just this is not the first time I've seen this thing of like somebody gets into the role of being like royalty of something, and it's like, this is not very fun. It's like, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's supposed to be.
I think also too, for her, it's her entire character that was established in the first, I almost said chapter 1, book 1. Again, I have not slept well. Her whole kind of one of her drives is her strong sense of morality, wanting to help people, and now being a high fae, she has the actual physical power to do that and help people without having to fear the physical consequences of running into a lot of the dangers she encountered before. And now that she can help, she's being told, no, you have to sit here and wear all these pretty gowns and just be a pretty high lady. And, well, actually, you can't be a high lady, as we find out. Be a pretty lady.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about that for a second.
We'll get to that.
Well, that's getting ahead of ourselves.
That'll be
we'll get there. Lucian explains all that.
Well, actually, no. Tamlin explains that, but we'll also get to that.
But yeah, so we're still kind of in chapter 2. In chapter 2, we meet Ianthe, who neither of you alluded to briefly, who's a high priestess. I don't really understand like the whole like. There are a lot of high priestesses, and she is one of them, and she's been sort of assigned to help, or like she has put herself forward to help with the wedding preparations.
I think she's a personal friend of Tamlin, and that's why he's appointed her to do that.
Her father was a close personal friend of Tamlin's, and I guess like his family maybe.
Okay.
Or maybe Tamlin specifically, because I don't think he would have liked a close personal friend of his father, considering his father was a jackass.
Yeah, maybe like a family friend, I guess you could call it.
A genocidal slave owner. But like, so yeah, when they had to flee to, or they fled to avoid all the shit that was going down when Amarantha was around, they are now back, which is why she was absent for the first book, and now she's back and is, because of their close alliance with Tamlin previously, is why she's the trusted confidant and high priestess now, and is kind of planning the wedding. And is planning the wedding seems to be her current biggest thing, but kind of a general advisor, it seems to, or advisor and friend seems to be the role they're establishing to Feyre at this point.
Yeah. I don't know. Have you guys played Hades 2 at all?
Joe has played a lot of Hades 2. I've not opened
yeah.
it yet. I'm waiting for it to be finished.
When they were describing originally they were describing the high priestess and her role, I was actually imagining Selene, the goddess of the moon from Hades 2, or Selene from Hades 2, and I was like, oh, actually, that's a really ethereal, like, priestess vibe. And then, like, a little bit later, they describe her as basically, like, white and blonde. I'm like, all right, whatever, fucking boring.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm curious about. I've gotten a hint that she might be like a more major character, so we'll see if we can do some casting for her later once we get to know her a little better.
Oh hell yeah, let's go.
Well, I don't think we needed a hint she was a major character. I thought that was like,
hey now.
Yeah, so she's kind of been, on the one hand, she is Tamlin's like a really good friend of Tamlin, but it sounds like she's been a really good like kind of support network for, I guess not network, a support person for Feyre. Since it doesn't sound like Feyre and Tamlin are really talking that much because Tamlin's like busy, and so Feyre's had kind of Ianthe as like a friend. Which
I was going to say, I think I would certifiably say they are friends as far as I can see in these chapters. So it's good for her to like, I think have a like a real ass friend, especially like. I think I would say Lucian is her friend too, but like I think Ianthe's like, you know, probably her first like female friend, which is probably something good to have something to talk to.
Yeah, because the only other woman she really had to talk to in Tamlin's employ was Alice.
Yeah,
and Alice is kind of like more of like Alice kind of like a more motherly role. Yeah, and then I think the difficult thing with Lucian, as is established more in this later in this chapter, in this section, and even with Ianthe a little bit, is that Lucian's loyalty is to Tamlin. So even though he's like a friend to Feyre, he would throw Feyre under the bus if it meant Tamlin, you know, protecting Tamlin or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then started to question a little bit with Ianthe as well, like would Ianthe do the same? Like it sounds like everyone, even though they're kind of her friends, their loyalty is still 100% to Tamlin.
Yeah, Ianthe too is then also kind of the political component too of like, I'm going to help you navigate this weird scenario you're in. But yeah, I'm also interested to see where her loyalties lie because she hasn't really given an indication either way, but I haven't gotten a vibe that she is loyal to Tamlin over Feyre.
That's a good point. We don't know yet. We haven't.
There hasn't. Well, yeah. I mean, we'll see. Probably in the next chapters. I assume there's going to be some conflict between the two of them. But yeah. Also, one thing is that like, I don't know. She seems to be. Oh, hey, you're in the picture. Say hi. Okay. But yeah, the other thing was that like, she's even there to kind of like hear Feyre kind of like talk about, hey, like I'm not really into all this the parliamentary stuff and like all the pageantry of like the aristocracy and all that, and like it's something that I think, like we said, she hasn't really even talked to Tamlin about, the fact that she's like not into all this like princess stuff, I guess, and it's like really a lot for her to handle. So anyway, yes, I'm interested to see where that relationship goes, especially. I also
think that. Oh yeah, but with Ianthe, I
think, yeah.
Ianthe. I also think that I don't know if you guys were getting this vibe as well, that despite being friends, there was almost a jealousy Feyre had that kind of stemmed from like an admiration of like a confidence that Ianthe had of navigating kind of these situations.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I guess I didn't get a jealousy read as much as it was like she admired it. Like
yeah.
I guess she looked at that and she was like, yeah, that's awesome. Like I wish I could do that. I guess it is kind of, I don't know. I guess I didn't get a jealousy vibe, but it was more like she like acknowledged and admired that Ianthe was able to do that, and probably another reason why she was happy to have Ianthe in her corner to just handle all that stuff for her. and there's a couple instances too of like, there's that part, again, not to get ahead of ourselves, but there's that party later that that Feyre's kind of just like, cool, Ianthe, you handle these conversations. I don't want to deal with this shit. And Ianthe just navigates all the political stuff for her, which seems, you know what? That sounds like an awesome friend to have. If you're in the situation where you're already not like stoked about, suddenly you're this, savior and role model, and you're going to be this really important figure in the court, and that's not really your scene. Having someone to just basically filter all that stuff for you, that's great. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
And to clarify, to your point, not jealousy, but it was almost, I think the way I read it as a negative emotion, because I think it was stemming from Feyre's currently shaken, kind of like the current mental state she's in, of just being totally rattled and just kind of not feeling confident in this current environment. So I think that's why I was reading it, not jealousy, but as like a negative, like it was admiration, but stemming from a more negative place, kind of, is the way I was reading it a little bit.
And then we're really burying the lead with this one, but one of the biggest complaints we had in the first book is not biggest complaints, but like what we were, again, we've said this multiple times. We were sold on this whole series being very, very porn, basically, which is like kind of a negative. It's pretty of a negative way of referring to it, but that's a lot of people would call it that, very porn. So we were disappointed to see that the first book had 2.5 sex scenes, as Joe described it in the finale.
Yeah, that is the correct number.
So that's 2.5 sex scenes is what the book had, first book had, and those were all pretty short. The first one being the longest ones, that was still pretty short. Boy, do they deliver this time. In chapter 2 ends with a sex scene that is longer in total than I think the other 2.5 sex scenes from the first book combined, or at least listen to the audio drama.
Felt that way.
It sure felt longer.
And to keep
it was definitely longer. I listened to the non-audio drama, and it was definitely longer. And also, I will say, genuinely well written. That was like 2 thumbs up to Sarah J. Maas. That was a good sex scene.
I need to go back and so Nirav and I listened to the audio drama. Joe did the regular audiobook version. Huge plot twist considering what Joe said last episode. But Nirav and I are probably going to swap back to the regular audio recording.
Yeah, logistically it's going to be difficult because the chapters of the radio drama do not equal out at all to like, even from the guide that I posted was not like correct. Like they don't even cut the chapters from the radio drama like chapter by chapter. It's like it'll just change halfway through a chapter, what they call it. So
yeah, and they don't do chapter cuts or anything.
No,
so
there's not. It's impossible.
The way we do the podcast, we would have to know the exact like quote that a chapter ends on in order for this to work. So it's very difficult. On top of that, without going into specifics, because I don't want to, the audio drama is probably just not for me. Like after listening to it, I'm like, I can appreciate this. I think like the sound effects and the editing and stuff is pretty cool. But like I don't, and I've listened to some audio dramas, but like I listened to a Star Wars audio drama before, and that was kind of cool. But I don't know if I personally need to listen to a sex scene audio drama.
Yeah, that was the part that kind of like stuck with me a little because, boy, did she really try to sell it, that narrator.
Yeah, I mean they both do. Both the Feyre voice actors and the Tamlin voice actors, they go for it. And you know what?
They did not hold back.
Good for them.
100%.
I don't think I want to personally listen to that again.
It was one of those things where I was like, I had to like stop and like make sure that like my car windows weren't open and like someone wasn't going to hear me.
You were listening to this in the car?
Yeah, dude. I was like, anyway,
Alex and I were listening to this on the couch. I started listening to the audiobook on my drive actually home from work. And I got home, I was like, Alexa, do you want to hear the audio drama? She's like, yeah, sure. So I hit play, and like a couple minutes into it, this starts happening. I was like, and we're both on the couch. We're like, okay.
All right, getting heated up in here. But yeah, it is.
Yeah, but I mean, it was a good sex scene.
Sure,
like,
yeah.
Like the fact that we got that out of the jump, they're like, all right, cool. This is what we're in for. We're getting more sex this book.
And then after
wanted it, and we got it.
And then after they finish, they silently go to sleep.
But it was well written, well described, very in depth, very sensual.
In depth, also.
Thumbs up.
Hey, all right. So
and there was good foreplay. It was solid. It was very good.
And for all the new listeners, to establish previous lore, Joe has complained before that he does not know what Tamlin's penis looks like. And I do think we get a little bit closer to that in this episode.
We need a police sketch artist to draw it based on the description.
It was described as what? It was his thick length? Was that how it was described?
It was
like that.
something like that, yeah.
Was it member?
No, I think it was length in this one.
With length? You're right.
It was incredible. But yeah, we're gonna definitely try to piece that together, and maybe that's something we could do over the course of the book. Is sort of like assemble,
piece together what Tamlin's dick looks like.
Yeah, and maybe it's a fun puzzle for everyone to do together. You know,
so we have to start recording every time it is described. We have to write down those adjectives, and by the end of the book, we should, in theory, have a very good description of what it looks like.
I would think so.
I like that. All right.
So Tamlin promises her, like, hey, after the wedding, things will be, like, different. That's what they all say right before the wedding.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Farrah's, like, complaining about how, like, not great things are, and Tamlin's like, don't worry. As soon as we get married, things will be
everything will fix itself.
Fine.
Exactly. Which historically is how
that always works.
Marriages work. And then, so Feyrah also finds out there that there is no such title as High Lady, and that
was this after sex or before?
Yeah,
sex?
it says after.
No,
here.
he's actively like fingering her, and
there's no such
like,
thing as a high lady.
Yeah, and she's like, oh, it'll be great when I'm a high lady. And he's like, nope.
That's some crazy fellow talk.
She's like, whoa, wait, hold on, wait, what?
Wait, hold on. Is this a bit or did this actually happen? I honestly think I was so...
He's actively fingering her.
Oh my god.
And he says there's no high lady.
I actually need to re-listen to this part or reread it. I think I was so focused on what was happening in the audio drama. If there were any key plot points that happened in this section, which apparently there were,
he's like,
totally missed
He's
them.
like voicing 3 fingers deep. He's like, there's no war in Ba Sing Se. It's like, oh my god, it's incredible.
And then she's like, "Wait, what are you talking about?"
Yeah,
and he explains to her that the High Lords only have consorts and wives.
All while they're still like doing it.
At that point, I think he had stopped fingering her. I think at that point, that had stopped.
And then does he go? But then he goes back to it afterwards. Like he pauses,
I think it was over at that point.
Oh, okay.
The mood was killed.
I think it ended after that.
Great. So,
yeah, I think he was like, no. You're just my wife. You're not a high lady. She was like, okay.
So he's fingering her. She has a question. He says, hold on. He rolls out a whiteboard and he gets, I guess a chalkboard in this day and age. And he starts drawing a diagram of how the court politics go on the wall while they're like they're both nude still. And then do they get back into it after this is the question.
I don't think so.
I don't think that they do.
Damn. All right. So the fingering was not foreplay at that point. That was a wind.
No, that was like post play.
It was a wind down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever that's called. Okay, so the next day, Lucian and Feyrah head over to the village. What?
I said 5 play is what it's called.
Great. Entered into canon. 5 play. So Lucian and Feyrah go to the village. They talk about like, hey, Tamlin's not letting me do fucking anything. And he's like, oh, well, Tamlin, like we talked about earlier, like Tamlin, like, watched you die. He heard your fucking neck snap. Like, he saw the life leave your eyes. And he's, like, really traumatized by that. And I was like, wow, that'd be a good thing for him to talk to her about. But no such luck.
I think that is the problem, too, is Tamlin is never... He doesn't have... He's a wet blanket. Still, and he never actually does anything other than be hot, and so he has no characterization generally other than just kind of being stoic. And so we are just kind of told a lot of times that, like, or we're inferring as a reader that would traumatize him, or he probably has these anxieties or PTSD after this trauma. I think is kind of, I don't know if you guys get the same impression, but that seems to happen a lot with Tamlin.
Yeah.
And also thinking back on the apparent shitty relationship he had with his dad, I'm sure that plays into it. Like bad daddy issues, not having a good male role model or whatever, and he just doesn't know how to open up or, talk about his feelings at all.
That's fair. Bad dad redemption too. Okay, so the other thing is that the Lucian's like, oh, people might try to kidnap you again. Obviously they saw like you have leverage over Tamlin if you can, get a hold of her, etc. If she gets kidnapped, and then we get a lore drop about the tithe, which I thought was a much more organic lore drop than our previous one.
This was from Lucian. This is from Lucian. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Good.
I did want to say also that back to like kind of how Lucian was explaining it, that also with him, I think this was the part where he explained this, that why he's now just more loyal to Tamlin than he was to Feyre in the last book was that because of how things have shifted now, where they're trying to push for it's a new world.
Oh, right,
and there's this political upheaval that has now been kind of established. Like they're kind of the fallout of Amarantha and Under the Mountain. They need this order that has to be established. So he's like, people look to me as Tamlin's right hand. I have to be 100% lockstep with Tamlin. He's like, this is I'm not against you, but I can't. Also, me helping you also served the goals that I had previously, but things have changed now. So he
said like we were desperate. He was like, in the last book, I still was loyal to Tamlin, but we were desperate. Like we were on death's door basically. So he was desperate to do anything he could to help Feyre because it helped the cause, like you said.
Right.
But this conversation, this all happens after they go to. This is after they go to the village, right?
Yeah, they're like walking around in the village. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean that's worth touching on at least briefly. Like Lucian's like, "Come on, Feyre, because Feyre this whole time has been the reason she's wanted to go out is she's begging Tamlin like, I want to go help people, I want to go like be present, I want to make a difference, and everything that Amarantha did. She's having this horrible PTSD about Amarantha and everything like that. So she thinks maybe she can go help people, at least be in the villages, meet people, help people. Which reminded me of, gosh, what was it? The other? I'll think about it later. Oh, it was Bridgerton actually. Sorry. In Bridgerton, the same exact thing happens. She gets married in season 1. She gets married to the Duke, and then after she gets married, they go to the Duke's lands, and she's like, I just want to be out there. I want to help people. And then and Duke's like, yeah, sure, go for it. And she does it. And she constantly just like makes the wrong moves and embarrasses herself because she doesn't understand those customs. Doesn't exactly happen here. But yeah, Feyre wants to go help people. So, and then bugging it nonstop. Finally, Lucian's like, you know what? Fine. Let's go help people. So Lucian brings her into the village to help people. And they basically go and like they found people who are rebuilding a house or rebuilding some sort of structure. And Lucian basically like said, hey, we'd love to help you. Like they're almost begging these people, like, let myself and Feyre, let us help. And the people are like absolutely refuse their help because to them, Feyre is like a goddess, their savior. Like they would never let her dirty her hands to help them. And that kind of proved Lucian and Tamlin's point. Like, see, these people don't want your help. And it's not because they don't like you; it's because they revere you too much. So Lucian kind of doing that kind of proved Tamlin's point a little bit about why, and one of the reasons why Tamlin's like, don't go out there. Like, so yeah, that was still frustrating for Feyre, obviously.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Yeah,
and
I think this is the part where she also had the realization that she kind of was like, oh, there's this probably like 100-year effort to normalize things, and she kind of has like this realization that she will live for hundreds of years now. She kind of the reality of, oh, I'm semi-immortal kind of dawns on her.
One thing that I will say, like at this part when she went to the village, I was kind of expecting to hear something about, and maybe I missed it, but like, did she say anything about what's happening to her, like her family at this time?
No,
I don't think they're mentioned at all. And
they're not mentioned until Ianthe brings up for the wedding. She's like, "Oh, do you want to invite your family to the wedding?" And Feyre's like, "Nah."
Yeah, okay.
That's the only time
we can get to that in the next chapter because I have thoughts about the reasoning for that. But yeah, this is the part where then then Lucian kind of explains the
tithing system. Yeah, like everyone's got to pay taxes basically, which is like I think this is
pretty common,
fairly normal medieval stuff if I remember. Like a lot of people had to like pay a tithe to the king every year or whatever, and like then if you didn't, they would come shake you down, and if you didn't have money, they would just like kill you.
And that's literally what happens here. Like,
yeah,
Lucian's like one of your new roles as not High Lady. What is her actual title?
The High Lord's
Tamlin's wife.
Tamlin's wife.
Tamlin's wife
title.
is the official
Tamlin's
title.
wife.
Yeah.
Her title is Tamlin. Gosh, that's so shitty.
That's what's on the business card.
Yeah, so Feyre, Tamlin's wife, her whole role now, one of her roles is like during the tithe, when Tamlin is, giving out verdicts, she has to just stand there in the room and observe and be there and be a pretty face next to Tamlin while they are, if people don't have their tithe, and they have to, shake them down or whatever.
Yeah, and it seems like
and killed.
I was about to say,
yes.
Lucian definitely,
yeah.
He definitely insinuates that if they don't pay their tithe, they are killed. That's definitely like that.
Oh yeah, because they actually use the verbiage to write hunted.
Yeah,
like
he'll hunt them down.
afterwards.
Yeah, so that's definitely the vibe I'm getting. Which I was like, that's kind of crazy, but like, it's almost not even that crazy because I think this is how things kind of used to be in real life. But also like, she's expected to just kind of like sit there and watch poor people get eviscerated, I guess.
Yeah.
But also, why is Tamlin not telling her any of this? Just
that's
a
crazy
single
too.
heads up, a single warning. He's not even like, he's probably not even thinking that Lucian's gonna tell her. He's just not ever thinking that, hey, maybe my fiance is not adjusting to this transition very well, and maybe I should explain the customs that are going to be a little jarring to her.
Yeah, my was human until 3 months ago fiance, like, taking for granted that she doesn't know any of this shit.
Yeah,
none of this.
I think
I like the idea that if Lucian had not taken her out to this town and then subsequently explained all this to her, the first tithe would have come and Tam would have been like, yo, it's tithe time. Should have been like, what
the fuck
tithe?
is that?
What is that? Like, shit, I never, oh well, you'll figure it out.
Yeah, you owe me $10 fucking dollars or I'm going to kill you. And then Feyre's like, wait, hold on, what?
Mm-hmm.
Where is this coming from?
So, yeah, they get, all the villagers kind of like reject Feyre's help. Like you said, she's kind of got this desire to like be out there like helping people, and she's got newfound power, strength and speed and stuff. Like, there are possible ways she could be out helping people, and they're just like, we're like not interested. They're like kind of a little bit weird about her, and like, I don't know if they mentioned this. Is it because like she was human till recently? Is that why they're weird about her? Or
no, I mean they literally.
Is it just because
like
they are?
Their
she is
god
Tamlin's wife.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I think it's because she's the savior.
Oh,
Specifically,
okay.
I think it's because she is their savior. I think some people even call her savior.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm not sure if it's there at the party. The people would refer to her as a savior. And I think it's like, no, we wouldn't dare to let you dirty your hands to help us. Like, we're like they in their minds probably think they owe like so much to her, they would never let her help.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a whole combination, and probably also the general politics of letting the High Lord's fiance do that in conjunction with her being Fairy Jesus.
Fairy Jesus.
Oh no, is she Fairy Jesus?
She is Fairy Jesus.
She did die and come back
to life.
Mm-hmm. Fuck, in a cave? I don't know.
She died for the sins of all fairy kind.
She did. Yeah.
And her neck was snapped, which I think happened to Jesus.
It happened to Jesus.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
Notoriously had his neck snapped by Pontius Pilate.
Jesus Christ. I mean,
yep.
Yeah, yes.
Yes.
Amen.
Yes, indeed. But also, we didn't mention that I really do enjoy the element of Feyre having this PTSD of everything that happened in the first book, because it is realistic of having of literally dying, and the general stress and trauma that would place on you. Even if she hadn't died, the general stress and trauma would have given you PTSD regardless. But I think I like the way they keep bringing it back up. Like, even when she sees Tamlin's red hair, she still has glimpses of Amarantha, just because anytime she sees the color red now, she is picturing. Yeah, she sees.
Tamlin's? Lucian's. Okay.
Lucian. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, I misspoke. Lucian's red hair. She is thinking of Amarantha because of the general association with the color red that she has now, and with Amarantha.
Yeah, I do have to say that's a good point. Like, I found myself more on Feyre's team in the first 4 chapters of this book than I did in the last book already. Like, I think maybe there's just a better job of describing her and her thoughts, and maybe having her like I think that the PTSD stuff is like being written in a way that like, I mean, I've known people in real life that have gone through similar things from being, overseas and stuff, and like, I don't know. So yeah, I get it. I think she's done a good job with it, I guess. So,
but I think it's not even. I mean, it's not discounting these first couple of chapters, but I think also it's helped. Like, regardless of our feelings on her in the first book, and we were all kind of like at one point or other in the first book, we were kind of critical on what she was doing. I think by the end of the book, we'll still at least kind of come around on her. Yeah. And regardless of how we felt, like by that, so we've done this whole book going through this. This growth with Feyre and seeing her battle all this stuff. So now in the first couple chapters of this book, they're basically immediately establishing, hey, Feyre's maybe not that happy right now, and we just spent a bunch of time with her. So I guess it's kind of normal to be like kind of defensive of like even it's not just these chapters. Like we're like, all right, cool. You know what? Now we've seen Feyre go through all this, and now she's in this place where we're like, oh man, I wish things were better for her right now after everything she went through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's a good point. So yeah, I guess we start to meet some of the wedding guests as they're arriving, and Feyre is like,
this is like the party before, right? There's like
the
party
the
the
day
night
before the day before the wedding. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
rehearsal dinner, I suppose.
Basically, yeah, it's like a meet and greet kind of thing. So all the guests are here. She's meeting all these fairies. She's talking and making bad small talk, shaking hands, etc., walking around. Tamlin is kind of doing his own thing this entire time, if I understand, at this party. He's like not really.
Yeah, they're not together. Yeah, at the party. It sounds like.
And then she's kind of like not having a good time there. Obviously, she hangs out with Ianthe for a little bit, and eventually is like, "Hey, can I leave? This is not my."
Well,
she meets some people though. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, like two guys come up to her and they're like, "Yo, savior! Like we saw what you did during the hunter, during the worm. Yeah, and that was
that was dope. That was sick.
That was awesome. That was super sick. Can we go hunting with you? Let's go hunting." And then she's having flashbacks to the last time she went hunting, which was after the whole Amarantha affair. More specifically, after she killed two people. Last time she went hunting, she didn't lift her bow up and shoot a single arrow the entire time because she still has PTSD. So these two guys, I imagine these two like super ripped bros show up. They're like, "Yo, let's go hunting," and she's like, "Yes, sure, but I'd be honored to go hunting with the two of you."
Yeah, that was funny because I remember she being like, "There's no way I will really be allowed to do this ever," and then also I would never want to do this, but yeah, sure, let's go hunting, bro.
Yep.
Yeah, I think these guys were frat bros in my mind. They both had like sunglasses
100%.
on.
Yeah.
Was one of them named like Hart or something? What was his name?
Oh, you're right. They had names. Kind of weird names.
I don't remember what they were.
They did have names. They were named.
Well,
does that mean they're gonna die or come back later?
I don't know,
everyone whose name is important.
But yeah, that's when Ianthe then steps in and kind of senses that Feyre is dissociating from the conversation and kind of takes the lead on handling all of that, which was a good move.
Cool move,
Yeah.
Ianthe. And then Feyre just goes to bed, right?
Yeah,
she quietly.
Yeah, they say that she needs to. So she's gonna sleep separate from Tamlin tonight. That was like a thing they do. So she goes
custom.
Up. Yeah, custom. So she goes up and like has another nightmare about like under the mountain and everything, and then is like, okay, time for my happy ending. Once I'm married, my life will be magically fixed. And I said yes.
Well, the nightmare was her being. I think he was chained down, and it
was a spike problem.
It was the
where she couldn't read the riddle. Yeah,
she couldn't read. Yeah. And she was reliving one of the challenges from the.
And she was like, "Yeah, stupid illiterate. I'm gonna die right here." I actually was curious. I wonder if she's putting more effort into learning how to read.
That would be a good question.
Or maybe when she became a fairy, she magically learned how to read.
That can't be
that
right.
That was one of the powers that she gained.
I will not have that be one of the powers.
That would be so funny.
So we didn't mention her wedding dress, but like she fucking hates it a lot. She talks about how much she hates it a lot, and I think she mentioned Tamlin doesn't like it either.
Next day, right?
Yeah, this is the next day. She's like getting into her wedding dress. She's like, "This thing fucking sucks. Let's do this." which I thought was kind of fun.
She's getting into the wedding dress. She's looking outside, seeing all the people gathering outside.
Mhm.
Oh, well, also, before we jump to this, the two fairies she was talking to that were
Bros?
like the two bros, they saw the tattoo on her left arm and asked her if she had heard from the High Lord. So
Oh,
it
right.
revealed
Yeah.
to us that everybody, or that maybe not everybody, but that generally speaking, people are aware of the tattoos being related to Rhysand.
Yeah.
Word got
And-
around. I don't know how that. Oh, I guess never mind. I know how that happened because she was dancing on Rhysand for freaking every night for multiple weeks straight
Yeah.
at the party. Like so,
Mhm.
like, and they mentioned before that they were actually because there were a lot of the fairies in the spring court were like, or in other courts. We found out later, like the people in the village that she went to go visit, they were in the mountain. She didn't see them because they were like down in like sounds like concentration camp like things deep in the mountain, like these deep pits where they wouldn't feed these people and they would end up eating each other is what it sounded like. But these two bros that showed up, they were there, they were present, they were like actually in the stands, they saw the whole worm fight firsthand, which means they were probably also in these parties where, and they probably saw firsthand Rhysand, or at least people saw Rhysand making Farah dance on him. So then, yeah, word probably got around about, and with her tattoo and everything.
Yeah, that's a good
I
point,
also
though. I
assume in
didn't
the
realize
fairy
that.
world, people know what the tattoo means, right? If you see that tattoo, I'm sure you. Like,
I don't know. That
means
sounds like
it.
some specific Rhysand magic, but I think
Well, it's
people.
probably night. It's probably night court magic.
Yeah, that's.
I doubt he like made it up. It's probably
Yeah.
night court magic, and I'm sure that people know what that means.
Mm-hmm. So she's getting
Before we
ready.
move on, I also want to apologize to anybody who hears the clicking of me muting and unmuting my mic. It's either that or you hear whoever the fuck is just revving their engine in my apartment complex for the last hour. So
Very good. We'll try to scrub.
I haven't
we'll try to
actually
scrub
heard
it out.
it.
I haven't heard it either, but it
Yeah.
might show up on your recording. But we'll scrub it out.
it is showing up. Yeah, you
No
probably
worries.
just heard that one. If you're
I did hear
listening
that one a
now.
little bit, but
Yeah.
that's all right.
I don't know what's happening. I don't know what they're doing. It's just someone is just.
They're doing
revving
donuts in the
a
parking
bike.
lot.
Yes, that's what it sounds like, and it's insane. So I don't know what's going on. So,
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah, so basically we're getting right to the end here, and Farah goes downstairs. She's in her wedding dress. She gets to the aisle, and she starts having, I think, the coldest feet anyone's ever had. But it's in a very weird way. It's not so much that like, oh, I don't want to marry Tamlin. There's a lot of panic going through her head of like, I am broken, and then I'll be, broken forever, and I can't place that burden on Tamlin or the good people of the Spring Court. And like, now that I'm immortal, I'm literally placing that burden of me on them forever, and I can't be here, and I'm going to ruin everything that they need to they so desperately need to keep in working order, etc., which I thought was an interesting thing to get nervous about, I guess, and why. And again, maybe just something I guess someone could have talked about earlier before walking onto the aisle.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's not even just like she's having second thoughts about this whole wedding thing for everything you just mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
and also Lucian describing what her role, Lucian and Tamlin both describing, and then what, like finding out like a couple days, like 2 days ago, after 3 months of being here and being engaged for who knows how long, she just found out what her role is going to be like as Tamlin's wife, what her life is going to be like now. So thinking about all that, what is expected of her.
I think she even mentions this here, but it's like she does love Tamlin and she wants to be with him, but like she's kind of discovering that like being married to somebody isn't just about like, do you love them or not, and there's like a lot more shit that comes with it, but like she's discovering and understanding it like I think way too late.
Yeah, she was saying what she wants is just to like be married to Tamlin and live happily ever after, and like the two of them can just like have fun and make out and go on picnics, and like that's her dream life. And then she's like, wait a minute, that's not what being married to a High Lord is. And it sounds like she does not want that.
But no worries, because as she pauses on the carpet and they're like, come on, it's all good.
Well, she more importantly stops and silently begs for help in her head.
Yeah, she's like, no, please
very
help me.
critically.
Like, I don't want to do this. Someone stop this.
And
And everyone pauses and looks at her, and like Tamlin's like, come on, Farah,
Come on,
let's go. And
let's
she stands there longer, and Tamlin's like, it's kind of like mad. He's like, Farah, come on.
I think it said he furrowed his brow like he's confused, maybe not mad.
Yeah,
like,
I didn't think he was mad. I thought he was more like
what are you doing?
No, what's
like
yeah.
But then
I was imagining like irritated Tamlin, like Farrell, what are you doing? Don't embarrass me. Like that's what I was imagining.
Well, luckily, thunder claps, and out of the dust walks our friend Resand, and he says, "Or am I?" or something like that.
Nice.
No, he says, what was it, Feyre, darling? He says the catchphrase everybody always quotes.
He says his good catchphrase that he's always saying, "Hello, Feyre, darling."
It's a sitcom where the camera pans to the door shoots open, and he walks in with finger guns and goes, "Hey,
And
hello,
then-
Feyre, darling."
yeah, and then everyone starts clapping.
The whole audience
Yeah.
starts clapping.
Yeah.
You're like, "Ah."
No, that is a thing that people are. That is like his line. I got a ribbon at Dragon Con from somebody dressed as Feyre. It just said Feyre, darling on it.
Wow.
It's a thing. Yeah.
Amazing.
I got a hint from Lindsay as well that is possibly a big part of this, or a big fun
Feyre, darling?
meme. Hello,
It's a
Feyre,
good
darling. Yeah, it's like a thing. There's a whole set of memes for it. So, well, I'm sure we'll learn more.
Catchphrase. Love it.
Love it. It's.
I like the idea of this happening every time Resand sees Feyre now. He walks in the door and says, "Hello, Feyre, darling," and the whole audience just pauses
like
and
laughs,
and
yeah.
claps every time. This guy.
He's always saying that. Yeah, so
A Court of Mist and Fury was filmed in front of a live studio.
that would be so good. This needs to be done as an actual sitcom instead. That'd
be amazing.
Yeah, but anyway, so yeah, these are the first 4 chapters. It was a very good pause point, so thank you, Alexa, for that. That was a good chunk for us to talk about. Yeah, so I'm definitely interested. I am interested to see what happens next and what Recent is gonna like propose they do here, or what he's gonna interject. Because my guess is he's gonna be like, "Oh, you know what? I just checked the clock and I saw that it's time for Feyre to come with me to the Night Court right now at this instant. So sorry." And she'll just kind of be like, "Oh, yeah, I guess I gotta go. Bye." That's my guess.
Bye. Sorry. Oh my gosh, this is so inconvenient.
Everyone, please enjoy the cake.
Oh, no.
That's what I thought. That's what I think is going to happen. Is just yep, it's time. Like this is your week.
So what do we think? Here's a question. Obviously, because I was thinking up to this point when I found out they were engaged, and this is all leading up to a wedding. This whole time, the last 4 chapters, I've been thinking, okay, they don't get married, right? There's no way.
No, they don't. They certainly don't. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, absolutely, they don't get married. Something happens. So as soon as Recent shows up at the end here, I was like, okay, this is what happens. Recent shows up and like takes her away. So I'm curious, what does this week look like? Because I don't want a repeat of the first book.
No, it won't be that. I think they're going to go.
Tamlin. Well, I mean, the Feyre Tamlin dynamic, where she's like, "Oh, I'm a prisoner here, and I'm mad about it, and we're mad at each other." So like, what does this week look like? I mean, she's obviously going to be mad for a little bit because she still doesn't really like Resand, but like, is Resand going to have like that fun, cool friend's dad energy where he's like, you know what, you're just here, have a good time?
Or is this like her divorced dad that's getting her for a week and is like, okay, I
mean, that's what we said last time. This is absolutely divorced dad, 1 week of custody.
I think because she's begging for help and Resand. Sorry, I have to make sure I
Resand.
pronunciation. Resand. I think that because he is just a shitbag that is always kind of manipulating people and also really hates Tamlin, is probably going to be as suave, charismatic, and drop all of the other problems we had to make her not want to go back and get married.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, yeah, absolutely.
He basically wants her to have
the best week ever. It's vacation week. It's party week. She's going to be bummed to go back.
Like, I found the hole in the armor. Like, I'm going to just keep drilling right here to make her not want to get married to Tamlin, because then I can also disrupt the Spring Court doing what they want to do. And also, I'm a little stinker, so I'm just going to, do little stinker things.
And I stinker. So, Joe, you mentioned earlier, though, that she does, in her mind, ask for somebody to stop the wedding, and then, like, he does appear. Do you think, like, because of this, like, tattoo and this connection they have, that he actually, like, hurt her?
Oh, yeah.
Or was he hiding behind a bush the whole time? Waiting.
That'd be very funny, actually. If the next 4 chapters is not this 1 week, it's a retelling of the first 4 chapters of the book from Resand's perspective, where he's just watching through a bush the entire time.
Oh, yeah, Thunder didn't actually crack. He was behind a bush, and he had one of those little, like, pop rocks.
100%, like a firework thing.
Smoke bomb. Yeah.
He throws it. Everyone looks behind their shoulders, and he steps from behind the bush really quickly. I'm like, I'm here now.
Yeah. Ah, man, that would be
Kind
great.
of out of breath a little bit.
I'm here.
I'm here.
That would be very good.
Farrah, darling.
Overall, exciting. Certainly better than the first 4 chapters of the first book. So off to a good start.
Yes.
I do think also, I mean, I liked the first book, but I do think that I don't know if you guys noticed this. There was I think a sharp increase in the quality of the writing.
I kind of thought the same thing.
I really felt a different vibe and the way it was written. Granted, you also have the benefit of being able to pick up with an existing world story. You know, there's all of that goes with a second book. But I felt immediately more engaged, and that, I don't know, just there was a subtle, not even subtle, just a quality of the writing was significantly better with this one. Not throwing shade at the first book, but it felt like there was just something about this initially where I was like, okay, this is feels like a whole different start to the book that we didn't have.
Yeah.
I think also it helps, as has been established in the first book, is the human world fucking sucks.
Mm-hmm.
It's boring. Mm-hmm. No one cares about the human world. And the first 4 chapters of the first book is just it's establishing how boring that is. It is establishing how drab and awful her life is, and how sad the human world is, and it's boring, and that's not a very fun thing to read. So the fact that we're able to out of the gate being like, yo, we're in the fair world. Here's what's up. Here's those people you like. It's that helps. Very helpful. As you said, Joe, it's the benefit of being a second book. It's you really feel it with this.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think also to your point, you're jumping in with less interesting characters. You're also, you're starting from scratch, and then with this book, you immediately have Ianthe, who's a very interesting character that, with being a high priestess, immediately adds a whole layer of lore to your world by just the very title. You're like, oh, there's a whole religious aspect and religious order that exists here, kind of. And I also think the themes they immediately delved into with the PTSD angle and trauma and all of that was just immediately very compelling. Also, which you obviously can't do in a first book because you have no existing trauma or any. There's nothing you have to establish. So
the themes, the themes. That's a good point. I didn't really think about that. But yeah, the themes are immediately they're tackling more interesting themes. But then also you mentioned Ianthe being a more interesting character. It's Ianthe is a much more interesting character than any of Farrah's shitty sisters or her garbage dad or anything like that. It's
the dad that never got a name. Yeah, just her dad. He's never is named.
Is he really not?
He's never named.
That's incredible.
Really?
I can go look at the Spark notes for the first book. I don't think he's ever named as a character.
Farrah's dad.
Well, but they did mention.
Although to be fair, we also don't know Farrah's last. We never know Farrah's last name, do we?
No, we do. They mention it.
They said it one time.
No, I don't think they did.
We also can't Google it because we get spoiled. So somebody please comment.
Just
and let us know.
Well, ask Lindsay.
Lindsay, what is Farrah's last name?
In book 1.
She says Archeron.
Oh yeah.
Isn't that
a what?
Is that a spoiler?
I don't know. You asked me to ask her. I did.
It was from the first book, I think.
Is that a spoiler? I don't think so. Okay, she said I don't think so. I'm just following
they
instructions.
also mentioned her boyfriend again from the first book. Whatever his fucking name was it Thomas?
Did they? Thomas?
What was his name? Leopold? I don't know.
Yeah, his Leopold was definitely it. But anyway, so yeah, I think we're go down and wrap up for today. But yeah, so good start. I'm interested to see what fun week Reeson has planned for the two of them at the lake house or whatever the fuck.
Dude, it's gonna be vacation. I can't wait for vacation week.
Yeah. Nice. Okay, well, great. Yeah, so I guess we'll wrap up here.
Yeah, we get to actually see what the night court looks like.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This is our first time seeing an actual other court besides the spring court.
Mm-hmm. And frankly, we haven't seen much of the spring court besides Tamlin's Manor anyway, so,
And the other village she went to.
The one village,
really
yeah.
Describe.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. We haven't seen much of it, so. Okay, cool. Nice work. Okay, so I think that's time.
Nero couldn't have held on to that yawn for another 1 minute for the rest of this podcast. He did the loudest yawn possible.
That was a normal sized yawn. Okay, so anyway, yeah, thank you guys for listening. You can find us on any of your favorite podcatchers or acababpod.com. All of our links are listed there, as well as our community Discord as a link there. And we have a new theme song courtesy of our friends, a friend of ours who has a band called Parachutes, who just put out their first single ever on Friday. It's called Lucky Strike. It is out on Spotify and all the music shits right now. It's on Bandcamp, etc. Go check it out. But yeah, we've got I've got like a full version of it in this episode. We'll have kind of like a shortened theme song version of it in later episodes and stuff. But yeah, and then go check them out. They're very cool to put together some like custom song for us. And this song was actually written about A Court of Thorns and Roses. The song that we are using for our podcast. So it's called Red Queen.
Inspired by.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Megan clearly wanted to delineate it as inspired by A Court of Thorns and Roses.
But also check them out on Instagram.
Yeah.
They're parachutes_ATL. You can also find their. I don't have Instagram, but you can still go onto their page and get from that link.
Yeah.
Their link tree also, where you can get all their other links, see all their upcoming shows. They are local to Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
They do have shows on March 21st and April 10th. So
yeah, if you're in the area, absolutely
check them out.
Come join us. And if you're not, get a plane ticket. All right. I think
you can also donate to them on Linktree. So just give them your money.
Just give them all the money you have.
Just give them money.
Or probably more. They would probably prefer you go to their Bandcamp if you want to give them money and you can buy the song. That would be great.
And anyway, a low energy plug from me because I'm exhausted, but they're genuinely really, really good.
We've been to like 5 or 6 of their concerts.
All their shit.
Yeah.
I've listened to their single that came out 2 days ago probably 20 times.
Yeah.
So
it's probably my favorite song from them, the song they put out on Spotify, so go check that one out. Okay, cool. Let's get out of here. And are we still trucking? Is that
Absolutely, we're still trucking.
Okay.
And I mentioned this is the first episode, a nice launching point for people to come in and get this is the first episode of the podcast with us. So I was wondering if we should explain the lore of Keep On Trucking. But no, I don't think we should. I think we just go for it.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening and keep on trucking.
And support your local bookstores.
Yes, please do.
Keep on trucking.
See you guys.
Keep on trucking.
There's a blush and a sigh as we look at the stars caught in our eyes and wait for our lives to begin. There's a catch and an ache for the edge of the moon starting to fade into sunrise on the skin that we're in. And nobody told us to know any better than what we've been doing. Caught in the weather, a slow dive into uncharted sea. And nobody told us that we could do better than falling for something like strings in a sweater, tugging apart at the seams. There's a gas